والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope everyone's doing well, inshallah. Welcome to Ramadan Nights, episode 3, alhamdulillah. We're now going 3 weeks strong for this program. A program that we started last year, if y'all didn't know, because of the pandemic, literally was born because no one had anything to do late night in Ramadan last year. So we were like, hey, why not? Let's just go live with a bunch of our teachers and our mentors from around the Dallas area. Week 1, we had a couple of our great friends, Mufti Naman from Allen, Sheikh Mubin from Frisco. Last week, obviously, if y'all were here, you saw Sheikh Nasir join us last week. Alhamdulillah. This week, wanted to introduce you guys to Ustada Fatima Let and Ustada Atifa Sharif, who have been gracious enough to join us here on a Friday, not even Friday, it's a Saturday morning at 12:23 a.m. So, alhamdulillah, we're really honored to have them here, honored to have you guys here. One thing that I wanted to quickly mention before we start, and this is actually a request from our 2 guests today, if everyone could rearrange our orientation today, because they also, and I agree with them, is that we don't want anyone to be all the way back while a group is in the front. So if the guys could just kind of transition a little bit over to my left-hand side right here, and if the girls could come up to the right-hand side, just come up a little bit. No, not.
Okay, you guys are going too far.
Yeah.
So you guys come over here to the pillar and just kind of make like a semicircle.
Yeah,
I know we're not
exactly.
in school, but like a little semicircle there. And then the girls come up this way, make a little curve.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, like that.
There you go, perfect. Alhamdulillah.
It's a cute girl.
All right, everyone good? The ones in the back are like, no, you can't move us. We will not be moved. it's fine. Just so we got the majority. Majority wins in this scenario. Alhamdulillah. Okay, very good. Very, very good. So, anything else? We're good? Alhamdulillah.
No, I'm just trying to see if somebody's behind the pillar. I like to see the people I'm talking to.
I can see them.
Yeah,
Can you tell they're both instructors at Funnel? Like,
You know what I'm saying? I like to
just love the optical view of everybody.
eye
Alhamdulillah.
contact,
Alhamdulillah.
We can't do face contact, so
You can't.
That's weird.
that is weird.
So alhamdulillah, we're honored to have you guys here and honored to have them here as well with us. Today's conversation, as you guys know, every single week we do a theme, right? So the first week with Mufti Nauman and Sheikh Mubin, we did the theme of taqwa, God consciousness. Last week with Sheikh Nasir, we did the theme of tawakkul, which is trust in God and reliance upon God. This week, alhamdulillah, with Ustad Fatima and Ustad Atifa, we're doing the theme of Istiqaamah. What Istiqaamah means? Anyone here? Istiqaamah, yeah?
Right, um,
You're good, you're on the way.
like sort of like being able to stay steadfast.
Very
Not
good.
giving up.
Very good, yeah, not giving up, having fortitude, right? Having this kind of like resilience, being able to be steadfast in your beliefs and morals and standards and your faith. Very, very good. So, alhamdulillah, we're going to be kind of doing that we do every single Friday, which is kind of a back and forth conversation between myself and the 2 guests that we have today. And also, we want to kind of have some interaction in our session as well. So, they'll be sometimes shooting y'all questions as well in the crowd that you can easily just kind of answer. And at the end of our session today, like we usually do around like 1 a.m., we're going to be doing an open Q&A like we did last week. Y'all, who was here last week? Everyone enjoyed the Q&A with Sheikh Nasir? It was really informative, alhamdulillah. So we're going to do that again via Mentimeter. So I will be announcing the Mentimeter code and all the details of the Mentimeter towards the end of the session, inshallah, so everyone can kind of hop on menti.com and plug in the code. But for now, we just want to enjoy the session today, alhamdulillah. So first and foremost, I want to ask you guys a question. How's Ramadan?
Great.
It's great, mashallah.
I don't know if she's like laughing because she's tired or she's genuinely laughing.
A little
Like,
bit of both.
I don't know if you guys know, but me and Usada Fatima Letter are like coworkers.
No.
We that's really rude. Why did you do this?
It's like
denied it.
it's like we work where there's a person who's working there and another person who's working, and
We
they
used to be the same
happen to
table.
be in the same co-space.
We used to be at the same table in Beltline. You remember this? Or do you wipe it from your
Not
memory?
cute. Not cute.
Anyway, so the real question, though, all jokes aside, the real question is, how have y'all kind of transitioned into this Ramadan as opposed to last year, obviously being so different? How do you guys feel this year personally?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Gotta start with our duas first before we answer. So last year Ramadan was, I don't know, man, like I feel like we were all just kind of shell shocked, right? I don't know, I'm speaking for all of us. No, I'm speaking for myself. I was definitely shell-shocked by just the fact of like, quarantine. It was pretty fresh, right? Ramadan came in when, COVID just peaked and said, hey, what's up? And so I think like being instructors at Qalam, like Qalam went into overdrive. We're like, we need to do everything now, provide the universe for the Muslim community. So a lot of like energy and effort went into seeing how we can utilize this whole online format. I think the fact that like, not just vibes and stuff and like, like family iftars, friend iftars, that wasn't as much of a thing last year. I think just adjusting to that, like we kind of all just had to like grow as a community and heal as a community and kind of figure that out. But I think a year in now, and just obviously the ability to have gatherings like this, that definitely did change the vibe. And so adjusting to that, like last Ramadan was like very unique and special in that solitude, I guess. Figuring out how are we gonna do Tarawih? How are we gonna like, still have our iftars? How are we still gonna like do our, ibadat in this like weird world that we're living in right now? And so I think coming into this Ramadan, obviously we try to always hope that every Ramadan is better than the one before. So coming in is like that, like a different type of energy, but just the same level of like, what, oh, I make this Ramadan the next best Ramadan, right? Things definitely have been different though. Like, where we weren't traveling at all before, like now we're making drives again. And so just the idea of like having a commute is so different than it was the year before. Commutes take time. Sometimes that's time away from what you would have spent last year doing ibadah, right? So it's just kind of adjusting to, again, constantly adjusting to a new normal and figuring out what that best Ramadan can continue looking like. So for example, like, I mean, at Qalam, we teach classes online, right? So that definitely still continued teaching that classes online, programs and stuff. But now we're having this like in-person program. So it's transitioning into more in person, obviously. But like figuring out how to like stick in our ibadah, stick in our like our worship, but like still kind of maintain maintenance, right? The whole topic of today, the Istiqaamah, right? To like still kind of pushing through every single day, making sure that each day is better than the one before. I think this year brought some different challenges than last year had.
Yeah, assalamualaikum everybody. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي امري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي زدني علما ربي زدني علما ربي زدني علما. I definitely agree with Sadatfa in the sense that like last year I was telling her this a couple of days ago, or maybe that was like 2 weeks. I don't know. Every day is one now. But I was telling her last year was definitely in the way that last year happened and how like we weren't commuting and there was like kind of a little bit more time for your own ibadah at home, and you kind of had to make the best of the situation whatever way you can. It was definitely an anomaly for me personally, because my schedule had been so used to traveling for work and like all these different things. So when this year hit, not really understanding the balance between things being online and things being in person, there's like this weird hybrid thing going on with masajid communities and programs and stuff. So not really knowing the balance between that, I realized that even though COVID has been a very difficult time and there's been a lot of things that are not ideal that happened and are still happening, there's a lot that I took for granted in that time. And in that time, I thought I was being grateful. Like in Ramadan, I was being grateful for the time that I had to be able to, pray at home. Like that was like one of very rare. I had never prayed Tarawih at my home before in my entire life. And last year, that was the first time that I was able to do that. And I thought that I was grateful for that moment. And what I realized this year was that I was just grateful to be able to pray Tarawih, right? So this year, like going between programs and things being online, and I work in 2 different time zones, it's just ridiculous, right? If I get in a couple of rakats, that's like amazing. And so it's just showing every year. I feel like it's such a blessing from Allah that he shows us more reasons to be grateful. And he shows us more reasons to grow and more ways to grow. And it's interesting because when we talk about istiqamah, being steadfast, you kind of think that the road is just this way. You think the road is just one straight road. And you get on it and you realize there's turns, there's twists, there's U-turns, there's bumps, there's like all kinds of things in the way. And your job, huh?
Sounds like the road to Arlington.
Okay, Mr. Useless. Okay.
Wow, relax.
Because he lives in Euless. He lives in Euless. You're in Fort Worth.
It's too late for shots to be fired right now.
It's not. This is your best time. You live in Fort. We'll talk about this later. We won't actually talk about this later. Okay? But yes, like the roads of Arlington, all right, there's a lot that gets in the way. There's a lot that's in the road. And your job is to maintain and be on that road. And so I think, comparing my Ramadan last year to this year, I wouldn't say this year is bad or last year was bad. It's different. And it's up to each person to figure out what they're going to do with different. Okay, this is the new thing that's presented to you. How do you hold on to your faith here? How do you make the best of it here? How do you get your prayers in here? How do you get your Quran in here? I was just telling her the other day, I was like, I'm behind in my Quran. I understand why. This here, the day is a little bit freer. I don't understand why. And then she always tells me, go back to the drawing board, figure out what's going on in your day. Like, think about the fact that you have to do this and do that and do that. And then I realized this is not one-off, Fatima. You have this class every day, okay? It's not one-off. You have to plan for that in order to get the things that you need to get done. And that's kind of what Istiqaamah is. It's making arrangements to still be able to hold on to your deen.
Interesting. Alhamdulillah, that was actually both really good reflections, which kind of leads us to the first question that I wanted to really ask y'all in terms of like the actual theme today. How many of y'all would say right now that you kind of hit different stages and moments of spiritual realization at different points in your life? How many of y'all would say that's true? Okay, y'all are, alhamdulillah, all in college at this point in your life. Is there anybody who kind of like feels like they hit it in the past like 3-4 years, ever since they got into college? Okay, anyone feel like they hit it when they were younger? Like in high school, middle school at all? Okay, we have some people. Okay, very good. So this is the kind of the question I want to ask you guys now is, everybody has their own story about when they start appreciating their faith a little bit more, right? Some people, alhamdulillah, come from families that are very, very rooted in the tradition of Islam. Some people honestly don't, right? This is the reality of families in our world, that some families are kind of like more distant from the religion, more in tune with like culture and whatever it may be. But then there are some families who like, Maghrib comes in, we pray together every day no matter what. So the question for y'all is, was there a moment or a period of time when you discovered Islam as something that you wanted to appreciate more in your life? Like, is there like a story in your life that you can recall that we can all benefit from that kind of like drew you closer to Islam? Like Sheikh last week was actually talking something really interesting. He was saying that the first time Mufti Naeem came to visit him in Dallas was like an eye-opening moment for him, right? I mean, like his entire family. Y'all remember this from last week that like Sheikh was talking about it? Like his teacher came into Dallas and told his parents and his family that he used to come and study with him, and the entire family got kind of like a shell shock type of reaction. But that was really kind of what he needed in order for Sheikh to become who ultimately Sheikh became. So was there a moment like that for you guys where you had a realization, a waking up moment in terms of appreciating the deen and the faith?
I think for me, there isn't, so this is going to sound a little bit strange, but I feel like there's not one single moment. I think there were many factors. And I think also like one thing that really played a big role in me just recognizing the importance of Allah in my life was a lot of what was going on around me and not to me directly. And I say that because for me, I'm a very much so like, as much as I don't like rules and I don't like to be told what to do, I hate not having rules because I don't know the boundaries. I don't know. I feel like I'm in the dark. Like, it's just very stressful for me. And I remember that like in high school and like very early on in college, which is technically like altogether high school for me. I had a lot of friends and family members and stuff like that that basically they just whatever like we all grew up in the same community, we all had the same level of Islamic education, and everybody has a path, right? And they chose different paths, not necessarily bad, not necessarily great. They just chose different pathways. And I see certain trials and tribulations and different things and hardships. And I am a firm believer in the fact that if someone does something and I can see the outcome, there's no need for me to do it too. I am a firm
That's a
believer.
smart thing.
Yeah, I am a firm believer. You know how they say, oh, you see your friend touch the fire, are you gonna go touch it too? And people are like, well, I need to see if it's hot. I don't need to see if it's hot. You already told me. If your friend jumps off the bridge, you're gonna jump off too? Nope, because they jumped off a bridge. Like that, I've always been like that. Also, is may come from being like a little bit lazy in the sense that like, you know, if we're being real, right? There's a little bit of laziness there. It's like, I should do it if I saw this person already do it. And so for me, that played a big role. Influences are really important because for me, I'm only as influenced as long as I allow myself to be influenced. And there were times that I didn't care. Like I allowed myself to be very influenced. And that was mainly in my beginning years of college. And then I realized that, you know, they say that college is the best years of your life, and it is. Like me and Sarah we were talking about this earlier. It is. It is some of the best times of your life. But best times of your life come with the most difficult times of your life. There was a lot of things people lied to me about. Okay, bills, not fun,
I
not
love
cute.
bills.
Would not recommend. I don't understand why she's here. She loves bills. Said no one ever. Okay, just a lot of things, like a lot of responsibility, a lot of things. And I remember like the first day, you know, being on my own and like stuff like that, and realizing my parents are not going to tell me to pray. So it's like a question you have to ask yourself: are we going to get up? Because I never really did anything by myself. So it's like me, my friends, my cousins, stuff like that. We're going to get up and pray, or are we not? You know, it was like it just became more of a conscious thing. It became more of like an actual process for me to figure it out. And I would say that the reason why I say there's not a specific moment, I feel like it took all of those years to develop my thought process and my relationship with God. It took me hitting the wall hard, you know, and being like and having an honest look at who Fatima is and who Fatima could be, because that's what religion does. Religion teaches you that you can be the best version of yourself if you follow the rules and the guidelines that God wants and the pleasure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, wants for you. If you follow that and you try to seek God's pleasure, you will only come out great. But if you follow what you want and what you think is best and the desires that you have, then those things always bite you, you know, in the butt, basically. And I had to have a look at myself and tell myself, like, Fatima, what do you want for yourself? Do you want to live a life of difficulty, or do you want to live a life of being able to manage? Not because when you start practicing, it doesn't make your life easier. It's just more manageable.
Mm-hmm.
You like figure it, like you know when to say, listen, God can do this. God got this. You know when to be like, okay, this is in the hands of Allah. So that's why long-winded answer, but that's what it was. And you see this in the tradition of, you know, the lifetime of the Prophet. There were so many companions that everybody has a journey. There were so many companions that some of them immediately, right? Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, immediately she accepted the faith. You know, Abu Bakr immediately. But then you have the likes of Khalid bin Walid. He fought against the Muslims at one point. And then he goes on to be one of the greatest like warriors for Islam. You know, like it's incredible. It's incredible because you realize that God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves us, and He loves you, flaws and all. And He just wants you to level up. He just wants you to be the best version of yourself. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time before you have that awakening moment or time frame, because mine was like a long time. You know me, I don't know how to get off the train, you know. I just keep going. And then I'm like, I think that was my stop.
I feel like that was like not really figurative. Is there a specific moment that happened?
Me?
Did you ever forget your stuff?
Get off the train? Yeah, all the time when I used to go to school. So I would be late to classes because then it was a long story. I love reading. So I would get on the train and start reading. And I lived on the last stop, and my school was like in the middle. But it's Atlanta. People like to do dumb stuff on the train, so it gets stopped, all this stuff, da da da, whatever. So I'll be reading, and the next thing you know, I'm at the airport because the airport's the last stop. So then I gotta go back. And my brother is like, I don't understand. Why is she so not smart? He didn't say those words. He would say other stuff. I was like, can you pick me up? I got class in 20 minutes. I'm not gonna make it. He's like, I don't get you. You do this every day.
Every day.
No, it was like once a week. Come on, calm down.
So I just have a question. I don't know if this is. So you learned from other people's mistakes, but didn't learn
from my own. That's human. Human beings don't learn from themselves. They learn from other people sometimes.
All right.
I'm being judged hard in a corner over there. You know?
It's all good. So anyway, so if we're talking about moments, Miss, I didn't got no moments.
It was time. I have a learning, you know.
I feel like I had my whole life. Okay. Yeah, I feel like I've had so many of those moments, and I think those moments are not easy, but that's what they're supposed to do. They're realizations that, like, you know, God, religion, Islam, this is the move. I mean, if we're talking specifically in college, I remember, so I was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio, and I went to Chicago for college. And so, like, I'm the youngest in my family, like, you know, for some reason, like, after, I'm the fourth kid, so can kind of picture my perspective. After like child 3, like, you know, the parents are like, please just go. So I was that one. I was the one that was like, okay, just go. So I went to college in Chicago, and I didn't miss any trains, so I took a lot. I think I was too scared to miss like my stop.
Yeah.
I was too scared.
This sums up our relationship. She's like the more paranoid one. Like, do we have everything together? Like, if we're going on a road trip, she's like, gas, boom, boom. I'm just like, I just get in the car. She's like, did you pack? I'm like, I think so. Like, we're just ready to go. Why am I stressing you out right now?
I just got re-paranoid. Okay, anyways. So that was, so growing up in a family where I went to high school, that all the teachers like knew all my siblings, they knew my parents, like, you know, it was like that kind of, it was a small town kind of environment. And then when I went to college, it was actually a realization, like I had to make my own friends. Like that was a new thing. Like these people who are in this university that are with me, they don't know me, they don't know my family. Like that was a real, like, I know it sounds probably dumb maybe, but that was like a big culture shock that I had to like really identify, like really truly for myself identify who I am. Like if I wanted to be, another part of that realization was that if I wanted to be a drastically different human being in college, like I actually could, because nothing about who I was in Columbus was going to carry into college if I didn't want it to, and if I didn't let it, right? So I grew up in a household, alhamdulillah, where my parents raised me with Islam, and we were the people that prayed Maghrib together, and alhamdulillah, I'm very, 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 very grateful for that, because I recognize that those were, like, even though it was something that I was raised with, and it was something that my parents instilled in me, and it wasn't really my choice growing up in high school and growing up as a kid, but it took me in college to recognize that those are things that are actually important to me as Atifa, as a person in college, because I could right now I have the choice to either take it or leave it, right? And I had to actually make that decision, because in college no one's gonna be waking me up for Fajr anymore. No one's gonna be making sure that I pray my Maghrib. No one's gonna be making sure that I'm not doing X, Y, and Z wrong thing and making sure I'm doing X, Y, and Z right thing. Like those are actual choices that I had to make on my own. And yeah, like I'm not gonna say that I necessarily made all the right choices all the time, because that was my figuring out process. And so I think college really was a big moment, was one of those big moments where I had to say, okay, if what is actually important to me, what do I want to take with me, what do I want to leave behind, what is the person that I want to be versus not be. And some of the, if to share some of the things that I realized that I needed to have, was that I needed to have a Muslim community, because if I needed to have Muslims around me. That's one of the big things that I knew. Like, I knew that from the get. Like, if I was not gonna be, like, I wouldn't be able to just go into college like just without other Muslims, because that influence, I know myself. Like, I know that influence is gonna affect me a lot. So making sure that I was part of like the MSA from the get, that was really important. Making sure that the MSA was a group of people that I actually wanted to be around. So I had to dorm. So I knew I'm gonna, like, they're probably gonna be weird people there, but I'm gonna choose an all girls dorm. Like, that's because I know that that's the environment that I needed. A lot of the girls in there did end up being Muslims and ended up being my very close friends. So that was like, alhamdulillah, like a blessing in that. Other things is that I went to college. I didn't have a car at that time. Chicago is like there's public transportation that is like a big thing there. So I had to figure out a way, and my university was like not like like a masjid was built close by like later on in my years, but it wasn't nearby. So I needed to figure out, like, I recognized something that I needed to have some sort of access to a masjid, because I grew up going to like Sunday school, and that was something that was very internalized to me. Like, I didn't realize the importance of that until I got to college, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't have Sunday school anymore. Like, and that's like fine, like I don't have Sunday school, but just that connection to a masjid, or like a space of like a religious space, was also really, really important. So I like ended up somehow figuring out a way to teach at a masjid Sunday school that was like 40 minutes away. I had to like take 2 trains to like get, like, but I knew I needed to make that sacrifice for my faith, because if I didn't recognize that and put that in, like, I could have lost my faith, and my faith was too important to me to lose. Like, I didn't want to be that person. And so those are kind of like certain realizations that I had specifically in college. And again, like, honestly, I don't mind. Like, I have those realizations like on a regular, and I think that's something that's beautiful, because one thing about Istiqaamah is that it's not like, Istiqaamah is not you just standing still, right? It's not just you just like being right here. It is a road. It is a journey. Like, you're in it for the long haul. And so journey, right? Like, that tells me that you are moving, and it's important to move and keep moving. Praying and putting effort into moving in the right direction. So even, just, not too long ago, like, I thought I understood the concept of tawakkul, but then, like, I really understood the concept of tawakkul, like, in like the most recent years, or like the power of dua. Like, you get it, but then you have these moments in your life where, like, you're like, okay, I know that dua is like a non-negotiable in my life, because like experiences in my life have shown me that in like undeniable ways. So I mean, I'm happy to continue having those moments, because all those moments are just indications of me moving, because when you're still, you're dead, right? Like, when you're still, you're stagnant. And it's efforts in me just getting closer to Allah, and that's what we're all here for, right? That's all we want to do. We just want to get closer to Allah. And again, she mentioned some examples of, like, Khadija radiallahu anha and Khalid bin Walid and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. But again, this also reminds me of the story of Umar radiallahu anhu, literally a man who was about to go assassinate the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But then, he had that moment. He had that moment of realization where he recognized, no, this is the truth, and it's time to change. So I feel like, embrace those moments and let them change you, right? And like, don't like keep letting them come and enter your heart. But also, we have to put effort in putting ourselves in environments where we can experience those moments, right? So like, set yourself up for success. You don't know where necessarily your journey is going to take you, but make sure you have the gas and the keys in, like your wallet, like with you.
Okay, calm down, tripadvisor.com. Okay, calm down. Yeah, I do. I know you have the next question. I'm sorry, but I do want to ask you guys a question. I know some of you guys here. I think I know some of you guys here because your masks are kind of covering half of your face. So like, if I'm staring at you, it's because I'm trying to figure out if you're really the person that you are, and then I'm trying to remember your name. It's just a lot going on in my brain. Anyways, but the ones that I know here, you guys know I love asking you guys questions. I love to interact and stuff. But one question I do have, start off stuff that he asked earlier, how many of you guys had an awakening moment or whatever the case may be? How many of you guys had that moment in college? Or you feel like you're still like going through that moment or whatever? All right. Anybody want to share what was like what was like a profound thing that really opened your eyes at that time?
I'm going to say something about sharing, okay? Sharing is caring. But no, sharing, when you share something, I know that that's like a very like personal question that she just asked, and that's intentionally done, right? And so, you have a lot of people that are hesitating, I don't know if I want to.
You just like, why did I raise my hand?
Yeah, you're like regretting like the half raise that you just did.
You just like, I should have just raised like this. I don't know why I was all
No,
up
so
there.
like, so this happened to me. I have no friend.
Yeah, I know a guy. Yeah, but I want you guys to know that when you share something personal about yourself and it's of any way, shape, or benefit to anybody here or like the people who are listening, right? If it is, you get the reward for that. Anyone, man sanna sunnatan hasanatan, whoever starts a precedent that is good, they get the reward for it. The other person gets the reward for it, and no decrease in anyone's reward. Okay, so I don't know about you. This is the month of Ramadan, and I'm just trying to stack up, right? And so if you have something to share, there's at least an inkling of a thought. Just know that you have no idea what sort of benefit that's going to give to somebody else. And if you're benefiting even just one person, any good deed that comes after that they are inspired to do, that's all yours. That's all I'm saying. So.
Anyone have anything that they'd like to? Yeah, so you
I can go first. Yeah. For me, it was like whenever I was trying to figure out my major, like I was a senior in high school and like I didn't know what I was doing. I was so confused, and I would like spend so much time thinking about it, like asking Allah, like just like put me on the right path. Like I don't care. Like I don't care about the money. I don't care about like where, And it was something that made me realize like no matter how much you prepare for something, like you never really know like what's gonna happen. So like. Now I found my major, I'm going to graduate soon, inshallah, but now it's just like, I'm like so glad that I didn't just go for something because of the money, or I didn't just go for something because everybody else was doing it. So it just kind of like made me realize like, istikhara is important, like making dua is important, and just like finding time to be like alone and asking Allah for stuff instead of like always relying on other people.
It's kind of building that relationship with God, right? Like your whole life you're told, make dua, Allah is there, and then there's that moment that like just shows you like, oh, God's there.
Allah's there.
He's there.
And he's taking care of you. And that's beautiful that you share that. And you see how like practical it is, like something that seems so unspiritual as picking a major in college, and you find so much benefit in it, right? Like you found a connection to Allah through that. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Anyone else? Yeah. What's your name?
Saja.
Saja, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I grew up in a very Islamic environment, alhamdulillah. I went to Islamic school, so I was there 5 days a week, and then I was volunteering at Sunday school, and I was just like, really keeping up with that environment all throughout middle school, high school. I was there in elementary school too, and then I graduated, and I got to college, got busy, and it was all classes and stuff, and then the pandemic hit. I started talking to my high school friends a lot more online, and it kind of just brought memories back, about how much I miss the Islamic environment. And so I kind of pushed myself to go back to those organizations. Like obviously I couldn't go back to Islamic school because I was in college, but like I started looking for other Islamic organizations that I could like take part in, because I realized that I did need that in my life, just to be around other Muslims. Like it wasn't enough just to see a hijabi on campus. Like I needed to be there.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Amazing.
friends, environment, that's really important. People closest to you, people you share.
We don't recognize how much our our company, our friends are an influence on us in order for us to like keep us afloat. Like, I mean, yeah, keep you afloat in anything. So that's amazing that you kind of got that recognition that, you know what, my friends, this is what kept me afloat, and I need this. That's amazing.
You know, sometimes what happens too is that there's a moment of fear of losing your faith that brings you closer to your faith, right? There's like this, like, really, like, a situation just happens and you're just really terrified. You're like, man, I almost, or maybe I did cross boundaries or do things that I told myself I would never do. I will never be that person. I will never be this person that did this. And you did those things, or you crossed those boundaries, or you got so close and you almost lost your faith. And that little part of you then pushed you back to your religion or pushed you back to your faith. And I remember when I first started college, I was just now away from my parents and stuff like that. And alhamdulillah, I was like interesting. It was like, you know, just moving out and just living my life, doing whatever. Doing me is really watching TV and like not doing anything, to be honest, but just doing me, whatever. Okay.
Revealing thoughts.
Yeah.
12
Yeah, I was like 15, okay? Like what else is a 15-year-old to do in college? Like go to school and watch TV. I didn't grow up watching TV, so it was like, oh, I can watch TV now. You know,
you're all grown.
I know, right? That was like the highlight of my moment. I can watch TV, and I will never forget though. My mom lived overseas, so she came to visit, and she just saw a change in my demeanor, like in how I was, my demeanor, how I talked, how I interact and stuff. And it was very different. It was very, to her, to me, I still don't think it was that drastic, but parents know. So to her, it was very drastic compared to how she had left me in the States a year prior. And my mom, you know, she's a very like, my mom's the realest person I ever met in my life. I know people always say that about their parents or whatever, but my mom's real. Like even my friends will tell you like, oh, your mom's real. Like my mom will let you know how she feels on her heart because she doesn't hold grudges. When she lets you know, that's it. It's done. Like it's off her heart. She loves you to death, but she will let you know. And she's always told us like, I love you and I care for you, but I love Allah more in my relationship with Allah. And for somebody, it may seem like, oh, that seems a little bit weird, but to me, that was very protecting of my relationship between me and my mom, because I always knew she would do what's best for us in our relationship based off of her love for Allah. And so in that moment, she told me, she said, whatever you're doing, I don't know what it is, I don't know what path you want to take, but whatever you're doing, I want you to know that I gave you the tools in life. And this part is like really heavy, okay? But she told me, she said, I did the best that I can to raise all of you. I gave you guys all the tools that you need to follow the deen. I gave you guys all the tools that you need to have a relationship with Allah. And she said, when I die, I'm going to go in my grave, and when you die, you're going to go in yours. And that was the scariest thing that someone had ever told me in my life. Because to me, it was like, your parents will be there for you. They got you. You know, all these people that were my friends, they have my back. But she was reminding me that you're going to stand before Allah and you're going to have to answer for who you are, what you did, and what you did not do. And you are accountable because you have these tools. And she was telling me, like, I am bearing witness that you are accountable because you have, like, I did my job. And that moment right there, I had had a lot of other moments before that moment, but that was like the nail in the coffin for me. Because that moment, literally, quite literally, okay? And in that moment, I realized how close I was to losing my faith. It wasn't something, it brought me, I never went away, but it was how close I was, how many little things were there, how many little things kind of trickled, how many relationships were influencing me and how I even talked and how I dressed and who I was or was not, the places that I would go, the things that I would do, the environments that I was in. And they weren't really anything super horrible or bad, but they were definitely stepping stones. And I thank God every day for my mom, because she's someone who was so attentive and she recognized that I was stepping on these stepping stones. And she was like, listen, this path that you're on is not going to lead you to being a better Fatima. It's actually going to lead you to your worst self. And you have to make the decision if that's how you want to turn yourself to Allah. Is that how you want to show up in your relationship with Allah? And so I say all that to say is that sometimes, we have like a lot of awakening moments, but there's sometimes really scary moments too that lead us back to our faith.
And I want to kind of piggyback off of that really quickly. I'm going to ask everyone here a question. A big part of Istiqaamah, or I guess you could say like a big factor that kind of plays against it, is this word called pressure, right? Y'all kind of being in like that college age demographic right now, where would you say pressure comes from in your life right now? Anyone can just say it to me. Go ahead. Where does pressure come from in your life?
Friends, media.
Friends, media. Anyone else?
School.
Time, school. Anyone else?
Parents.
Who said
I was
time?
waiting for that one. I was like, okay.
Who said time? What do you mean by time?
Just making time. It's like hard to find time to do things.
Like it feels like it's almost like squeezing you.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Good. Anyone else?
The future.
The future.
What do you mean by that?
Like, what's gonna come next?
The unknown. Yeah. Very good. What Stranger Things? You got anybody else? Pressure, places of pressure? Anyone, something that somebody didn't say yet? I wanted to kind of, and this is like kind of like a story ask the question for y'all. And pressure like kind of seems like, that seems like a high school type of thing. Being at Roots, one of my main obligations here is to kind of work with the youth here, working with high schoolers here. And I had a really interesting run-in with a high schooler. And it's Ramadan, Eid is coming up in another 13, 14 days. And so a group of like young guys, friends, were talking about how they're gonna kind of like exchange like Eid presents on the day of Eid, okay? And he hit me up like literally really late at night. Anyone gets like really late night text messages about like really deep things? And you're like, bro, it's like 1:30 a.m. What you doing, right? But I guess like that's one of the thoughts that you ask yourself where your social security card is. 3 a.m. Where is it? So this kid hit me up at like 1:30 a.m. and he's like, hey, I have a really interesting question. He sent me an audio note. I was like, yeah, I can't even read this thing. I gotta listen to it. And he sent me this really cool audio. And he said, we're doing this like interesting kind of like Eid exchange type of thing, right, on Eid day or like day after Eid. He goes, but we have a big group of friends, but like one of my standing principles I just don't sacrifice is I don't want to meet up with like, and he's the guy obviously, he's like, I don't want to meet up with girls and exchange gifts. And he's like, it took me a lot to tell you this because I didn't want to be looked at as like the weird kid, like that doesn't want to do that because everyone else kind of seems on the same page and I just kind of seem like out of it, right? And I don't really know where to go. I don't really know where to turn. And so I was kind of going back and forth. My wife was like staring bullets at me. She's like, why are you working at 1:30 a.m.? I was like, it's a kid, right? I told him, I said, look, I said, who do you trust in your friend group? Who do you trust? And he mentioned the name of this one person. Go to him and explain to him exactly how you feel. Just do it. He's like, are you sure? I don't know about that. I'm like, no, just do it. And he's like, are you positive? I said, if he's a friend that you're comfortable going to about stuff like this, it's worth it. And he talks to him the next morning, this kid texts me, he goes, how'd you know? He goes, how'd you know? I'm like, dude, man, sohba, yo. Like, companionship is companionship. And he goes, you know what he did? Like, his friend reached out to the entire group, ends up that what he was feeling was like an underlying sentiment in the entire group of friends. No one said anything about it. He's the only one that spoke up. And so this kid come back to me, he's like, man, I'm actually kind of like a trailblazer. I'm like, okay, relax. Like I'm being super scared or like super arrogant. Like, relax, you're defeating the purpose, child, right? He's like, and I told him, subhanAllah, man, if you didn't come up to me and ask me that question, you and like 30 of your other friends would have just kind of gone through something uncomfortably with each other. You're the one that spoke up about it, right? It's an incredible story. And so this comes to like this question I want to ask y'all, inshallah, is, was there a time, we were joking around about like no one wants to talk about the personal moments, but was there a time where you felt that pressure from a moment in your life, right? I mean, pressure is a big part of Istiqaamah, right? Knowing when to not be moved by people or moved by people's opinions or thoughts about you. Was there a moment where you, as a Muslim woman, a Muslim, a student of knowledge, a teacher now, like, have you felt that in your life, and would you be able to share that with us?
To be honest, it sounds like, again, kind of weird. I feel like we're just kind of trading off on like our weird answers, but it's okay, we'll go with it.
No other way.
Papa literally doesn't care. She's like sweet.
Yeah.
Santiago.
So in high school, I was one of the few like kids in my class. I went to a small school. I was one of the few. I was just actually for a long time up until I got into high school. I was the only Muslim in my in my grade, right? And then when I got to high school, there was like two more. So like I don't know. I feel like as I was growing up, I fully internalized like weird Muslim kid, and I was like happy with it. I really internalized that, like, not in like a bad way, but just, you know, my morals, my standards, my values are going to be fundamentally different than every other student in my class. Like, yeah, you know, sure it sucks, but I don't know, my God gave me with the personality to like not care and really just embrace that, like, I am going to be unique, and it may be a little bit lonely, but you know what? I'm a big believer embracing, the God-given nature that you have, or, as individuals we have, and then just kind of rolling with it, right? Like, so there were many times in growing up in high school where I didn't have, like, it was kind of the opposite. Like, I didn't have people like on my side, right? Like on my team. And figuratively speaking, in terms of like values and morals and things like that. And that was okay, right? Like, because I recognized that religion is not something that I'm going to get from school. Like, so what I learned instead was more so discretion and recognizing that you don't need everything from everyone. Like, if we have social circles, and that's okay. That I had my Muslim group of friends that I was outside of school, and that's okay. College was a little bit different. I moved to state, so I knew my Muslim friend circle, they're not following me, they're not coming with me, to Chicago. So I know I need to have a Muslim circle. That's really important, and to surround myself in that. And so it absolutely does go back to who your company is. And again, recognizing that company is something that is so important to me. So especially pressure that comes from peers, it is our responsibility to surround ourselves with good peers, to surround ourselves with peers who aren't going to pressure you in ways that that don't align with what you believe in. So that is a personal responsibility to take as well.
So Fatma, you got something?
Yeah, I think one big thing, one extremely huge thing that if you guys have not started doing now or haven't started doing in your life that you should do is work on your mindset, right? And I say that because your mindset, it will run everything. If your mindset is not in the right place, then what happens is that you're easily influenced for it to go somewhere else. And I say that because when I personally have a different story in the sense that when I went into college, I was very young. I was extremely young going into college. It was like prime age of being influenced, and it didn't help. I wasn't the only Muslim in my college. Actually, like half of my cousins went to college with me, and that was great. We were lit. It was fun. We were the cool kids.
I can't relate.
Actually, they were the cool kids, and then I would tag along, so then I kind of became a cool kid too. It was fun, but your mindset was important. Like, it was very important to have um, know what your purpose was in life, and not like this big philosophical thing. It was more so like knowing that, okay, for us, religion was very important. It was very important for us to be Muslim and like unapologetically Muslim. That was just something that we had done, and the reason why being unapologetically Muslim was even a thing for us was because we grew up being minorities within minorities. We're first, generation immigrant kids. We're Muslim in our college, in our high schools, in our, elementary schools, whatever. Some of my cousins, they were swimmers. They were professional, not professional, but like varsity swimmers, basically. So they like were second in the state, but they were Muslim. So they like had certain dress codes, even though they were boys. and things of that nature. And it was just something that like I learned from my older cousins who learned from my older brothers and so on and so forth, that like you don't compromise who you are for nobody. You don't compromise, you know, for me, even a long time I had a problem with people giving me a nickname, because to me that was, for me, that was compromising who I am for somebody. And so even though now I have a better understanding of nicknames, but then that was how deep it was. That was how serious it was. And that's what gave me a lot of confidence in life. And I'm not saying that I wasn't peer pressured or I couldn't be swayed. What I'm saying is that then I was very strategic about who I allowed to sway me or not. Right. And that too became another thing. It became another conversation with myself of like, who are these people that you're around? You know, who are these people that you trust? Because I'm the type of person, again, knowing yourself, Sada Atfa talked about this. She said she knew herself and she knew she needed to surround herself with the Muslim community. And I knew myself in the sense that I know that when I trust somebody or I'm friends with somebody, I'm very close with them, I'm very much so like, whatever you say is gold. You know, I'm not the friend that likes to argue. That's not me. I'm very, as much as she probably would disagree, she's the arguing friend. I'm not the friend that likes to argue. I'm very much so, you make the plan, let's go. That's why I never check if we have gas. She's going to do it. You know, I'm very much so cement now what I thought now. Whatever you say, I'll do it. Let's go. But that's after I've trusted you. That's after I've already went through an entire process of being a little annoying to see, you know, if you the one, if you the friend that I want around. So I say all that to say that your mindset is really important. You have to figure out what you value. What is important to you? What is your relationship with Allah?
What do you want it to be?
What do you want it to be? You know, what type of friends do you want? I always knew I wanted friends that's going to tell me the truth. I don't like people who are passive, who don't really, you know, who's like, oh, she'll figure it out. I won't. We've already decided this. I don't know when to get off the train. Like, I won't figure it out. I need someone to tell me, hey, you can do better here. I need someone to tell me, hey, we have to pray. Hey, you've been, you know, it was all cute, fun and games once or twice, but you going down the path. You're doing something wrong. That's what I need. That's what Fatima needs to be, the best Fatima. And for me, in my mindset, if there's someone around me who I spend every single day with, I talk to, I hang out with, I call them a friend, and they allow me to go down a path that is not my greatest self, you're not a real friend to me. You might as well be somebody off the internet.
Yeah, remove them.
She's getting upset.
Just remove them.
You're not. You're not, because my friend, someone that I call like, and I like to pride myself on being a good friend. Okay, I will go above and beyond for the people that I love and I care about, because I go above and beyond for people that's like down the street. And if I love you and I care for you, I want you to be the best version of yourself, and I expect that from you. And so in talking about peer pressure and Istiqaamah, my friends will let me know, hey, this person is trying to take you out of your character. I didn't fall into peer pressure because I had a different type of peer pressure. I had other people letting me know, hey, don't do it. That person that you think is a good person and a good friend, they're not that great. They're taking you out of your character. Look at this. Look at how you changed here. Look at this. Look at that. That's how it was. And they're hard conversations. They're not easy by any means. You know, somebody's calling you out. They're calling you on your bluff, quite literally. It's not easy, but you have to decide, do I want to be a better person or not? Do I want to develop or not? Am I okay with being the same old Fatima that Fatima was yesterday? I'm not. I'm not okay with that. Because to me, that's a waste of a day. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of a day that I could have been investing in being a better person and having a better relationship with God. It's a day that I didn't make any progress on my path. It's not you didn't accomplish anything. I do want to ask you guys a question though. What are some of the biggest pressures that you guys feel like, the biggest pressures that you guys feel like stop you in your path, or like keep trying to divert you off of your path or your relationship with Allah? I know, like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just while you guys think, this is like in the meantime, okay? It's like the Jeopardy like song is like in the meantime.
2 seconds.
My question is, or what I wanted to comment on is that something that Ustadha Fatima kept kind of mentioning is that she had her mom call her out on the stepping stones that she was taking, right? Like call her out and say, whatever this path that you're on right now, these steps that you're taking, whatever these changes are in your life is not good for you, right? So whether it's, whether it was her mom or the friends that she surrounded herself with, right? So when when you kind of think and reflect on what is the person that you want to be and what is the relationship that you want to have with Allah, and what like the opposite of that is, right? Also recognizing the path to each one, right? What are the steps to take to get there, and what are the steps that would take you to the place that you don't want to be, and having obviously people call you out on you, call you out while you're still on the path, while you're not already on the far end. That's the ideal, to have people in your life that also have that same vision, that also at least recognize you for your values and what's important to you, and kind of can have that sight and be able to see what maybe you can't see about yourself, right? And guide you accordingly. So just kind of follow up on Ustadha Fatima's question, what are some of those big struggles and pressures, and then things that were blocking you from accomplishing those goals in your life?
Anybody have anything? It's a deep question, because it almost like forces you to admit like what's the block in the road, right? Anyone have anything? Yes, I mean.
So sometimes it's those surrounding you. Like you're somewhere in your life surrounded by people and you want to get to somewhere else. And sometimes that requires not doing what you're currently doing less of that and doing more of stuff you really don't need to do. And sometimes the people around you, you end up spending less time with them. You end up doing things that you usually don't do, and they start calling you out like, man, where you been? We haven't seen you in a long time. Why did you stop coming here with us? Why did you stop doing that with us? And it starts like the person who you were in the person or the place where you're at, and those surrounding you are kind of putting pressure on you because you're making changes to where you want to be.
Interesting. Very good. Very, very good. It almost kind of reminds me of like the Ashab al-Kahf, right? Like you almost have to take care of yourself in a way, right? Like if it's hindering you, like the place you're at, if it's hindering your ability to grow, you almost have to take a step back and be like, yo, I need my space to grow, right? It's a really, really thought-provoking answer. Very good. Very good. Anyone else want to share? Yes, go ahead.
I think in a way, sometimes the pressure comes from myself. Like there's so many things that I want to accomplish in my life. I want to do this with my date. I want to do this with college, and I end up doing so many things with like I end up pushing myself to the max, and then all of a sudden I'm in burnout mode, where I can't do any of the things that I wanted to do, and then I have to take a step back and be like, I need to balance these things. Like I can't put everything to the max. I need to like balance everything and give it its due.
Yeah. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, so a comment about that, burnout is real, right? Especially and when you recognize like you want to accomplish something, and exactly what you said, that there's so much that you want to do, and then you're like, all right, like wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, bright-eyed, like I'm ready to go and trying to do everything, especially when we going back to the first question, when you have those moments and you have this realization, you're like, all right, now let's like power on 0 to 60. Yeah. Life does, we're not cars, right? Like life does not work like that. And it is important to recognize that when we talk about balance, and this is something that Sheikh Nasser talks about all the times in terms of like what does balance mean, oftentimes we think that balance means a little bit of everything. Okay, that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes balance means that in this phase of my life, I need to focus on this, and there is a phase in my life that I will need to focus on that, and your life continues in that way. That it balances a lifespan thing versus a moment by moment thing, because if you do it moment by moment, it can get very overwhelming, and then you just crash and burn, right? And so when we talk about deen and stuff and improving, and accomplishing those goals that you want to accomplish, it's important to recognize, okay, what can I do right now in this moment that is feasible and practical, that is the one best thing that I can do, Not the everything that I can do, but the one best thing that I can do. And sometimes, right, like for example, as people who have studied in an Islamic environment, right, studied Islamic studies for the the past number of years and been kind of in this in this field and working in the working in this field. This is the field that we're in now, right? This is the place that we're in now. Where we are right now, me and her sitting here, this would have been unfathomable maybe just 3 years ago, right? Because it was never, sure, maybe it could have been like a thought, but we never thought about being, sitting up in the, front talking to you guys just 3 years ago.
It definitely was not the plan.
It was not
my plan.
She's like, I got a train catch.
Yeah.
I'm already planning on this.
She's still on the train. No. And so what I mean to say that is that every phase of life has a different focus, and it's important to focus on what you can focus on in the current phase of life that you're in. And you don't need to worry about the next step. You don't. Oftentimes we're so hasty. We're like, okay, what am I going to do next? What am I going to be next? Who am I? I tell the students this every single day. Every single day. I'm like, they're asking me in September, what is next year gonna look like? I was like, you did not even finish like half of this year. You just got here, right? And then they start asking me again in December, and I said, and I always ask them this question. I say, in December, right now is December, could you have imagined in September where you are in December? Could you have imagined in September where you currently are in December? Every single one of them says no. Because you have no idea what changes you're going to make in your life.
When you put things in God's hands, you just make an intention and you put your best foot forward. And you say, Allah, I am trying. You just take it wherever you want. Be ready for Allah's response. The doors that will close will hurt, but the doors that will open are feelings and emotions that you will never ever think you will ever experience in your life.
Goals that you will accomplish that you never imagined. We like kind of regularly have this conversation. Okay, don't judge us. Okay, we regularly have the conversation of like, oh, you're like our life goals, like the ones that like, oh, by the time inshallah, like when I die, like I'm accomplished this. I've like done all of them. Like I have to make new life goals, like regularly.
And it's not us. By any means, it's not the effort we put in. It's the barakah of Allah. It's someone else's tahajjud du'as. It is probably my mom's like 10 years of like, oh Allah, please just righteous daughter, a decent daughter, daughter. Like it's not by any means the effort. Your life is never only your own effort.
But your job is to make the proper intention. Surround yourself with good environments and just put the effort in, and Allah will take you. Put that effort in, right? And that's something that Allah will take you where He wants you to go, and that's all we want. As long as we're in that path, that's it. What else you need, right? And so don't worry about the outcome. Don't worry about what's next. You have no idea what human you're gonna be in like 1 month tomorrow, right? Let alone 1 month, let alone 5 months down the line. So stop stressing, okay?
And just do you.
And just keep doing what you need to do.
So inshallah, because of the time, we're going to go into rapid fire round right now. So if everyone can take their phones out real quick.
And if you want to ask your question.
Yeah, so we're going to give everyone two options. You can either ask your question out loud, or you can ask your question anonymous through our Mentimeter platform. So if you go to menti.com, go to your browser, and go to menti.com. Everyone, let me know when you're there. Yes, we're good? All right, there should be a plugin for a code, like a little bar where you can plug the code. And the code is 5532. So 5532, 7765. So menti.com, 5532, 7765. And that should take you directly to a place where you can actually ask a question anonymously. And if you see a question that you really like, you can actually I believe you can actually like it. It's really weird. Everything has likes now. Even Mentimeter. So strange. But you can like somebody's question and it'll actually bump it to the top, meaning that like we'll see it first. So we're gonna do rapid fire questions real quick, inshallah. Plan to finish in the next 5 to 10 minutes, and then inshallah after we're done, our team is actually waiting with Zio Owls for like a pre-suhoor sort of thing. It'll be fun, inshallah. What's up?
Pizza?
Okay, it's not pizza. Zio Owls. Relax. There's two different things. It is the best pizza in Dallas. Did you like my way of dramatizing that for no reason? I was like, yeah.
It's not that deep.
Wow, relax, dude. You're a hater over here. All right.
Show your life story.
Yes, the code is 5532-7765. All right. Bismillah, y'all feel free to take whatever questions you feel.
All right, anybody got questions that they just want to ask right now? Like, just raise your hand, straight up. Let us know. There's no need to be shy. Clearly, I told you guys how many times I forgot my stop on the train, so we're all friends.
We're all friends here.
Kind of.
Ibrahim's like, nope.
They're not even listening.
All right.
Anybody want to ask their question? Yes.
So we kind of talked about balance, but when you have so many, I feel like in quarantine, everybody just kind of added a lot more onto their plate than they usually do. So how do you even create that sense of balance? Like, I feel like a lot of people like to talk about it, but we never talk about how.
I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned about quarantine and balance and stuff in the day is the importance of, and it's going to seem like very left field, the importance of scheduling breaks, okay? The importance of having scheduled just relaxation time. Because when we went into quarantine, right, and people like realized like commutes are not a thing anymore, right, and everybody assumed that everybody had a lot more time. Sure, yes, there was a lot more time, but then we filled that time with more stuff, right? And so when you have just a lot of stuff in your day, especially like staring at the computer all day, online things like online work, online school, we don't recognize the amount of stress we put ourselves through and constantly are putting ourselves through. Whether it be like, you know, just like work and stuff, but also the fact that we're in quarantine is like not a normal situation. That's a life stress. Your hamakallah?
I have one more.
Oh, go for it. Okay. And so it's really, really important to actually take out a schedule, figure out what is something that you do to relax. When I say relax, that doesn't necessarily mean take a nap. Maybe it is take a nap for you, right? But what you can do to just really decompress and then schedule your like the rest of your life accordingly so that you have a sane balance. Because when we are, if you know, think of a full cup, right? We're constantly just draining ourselves. What are we filling back up? What are we giving ourselves the time to fill back up so that we can even accomplish the things that we want to accomplish? Or we're constantly giving. Imagine a well, right? Like I like to use this analogy. You're constantly draining the well, constantly giving to other people. At the end of the day, at the bottom of the well, all you got is dirt. Now you're just giving other people your dirt, and nobody has time for that, right? So spend some time, fill up your well properly, right? Properly figure out how, you know, what is feasible to fit into your day, and inshallah that will help you create a balance. And again, you said that balance doesn't have to necessarily be everything all at once in that day. What makes sense? What makes sense at a you know, proper time, proper place, but make sure to include that break time. Sometimes people think that break can be, especially in the time of Ramadan, that break can be, or that peace, a little bit peace and quiet time. Maybe that's the moment that you connect with Allah. Maybe that's your dua time. Maybe that's your dhikr time. Maybe that's your just nap time. Maybe that's just your like vegging out time. I don't know. Whatever it is that re-energizes you. That's not an energy drainer. That's an energy giver. So inserting that can inshallah help you establish that balance.
All right. I think you want to answer the follow-up or not? Should I ask the question?
No, you can ask me.
Okay. So we have a really big question that it seems like a lot of people are interested in actually hearing the answer. So the question I'll read out loud so everyone can just knows the question that we're answering. The question is, I keep finding myself pushed away from the Muslim community because of all the misogyny, racism, and apathy from members and leaders in the community. How do you navigate that kind of pressure? Yes, go ahead.
So this is a really good question. And it's really interesting because last year when the whole George Floyd situation happened, trying to figure out how much I want to talk about. Okay, so last year when the whole George Floyd situation happened, a lot of different Muslim communities started doing a lot of racism awareness, whatever programs and stuff, which were a very good initiative or whatever the case may be. And I found myself being really like apprehensive to participate. And I will say because when you experience something your entire life, and then you have to go and articulate that experience to sometimes the very same people that are bringing on that experience to you, it can be very disheartening, a lot, very tiring, a very, not fun thing to do. But in that time, it made me think about something that there are these things in the community that is not great. There are people who treat people badly based off of their gender, based off of their skin color, or whatever the case may be. And I was thinking to myself, how did I kind of navigate that growing up? And one thing that I realized is that it's so important to not put your relationship with God in the hands of people. Because no matter how good that person is to you, they will always disappoint you at some point. And Allah will never disappoint you. And so when you look at the masjid as the house of Allah, you find your little circle or you find your little corner and you stay in there. And I understand that that sounds very marginalizing and things of that nature, but you can't change people. You can only change how you react to people. And for me, my biggest thing in being someone who, obviously I'm a person of color and so on and so forth, there's so many things that you experience on a day-to-day basis that actually people around you have to point out. There's so many times where there are like very racist like situations that will happen, and I am very slow at figuring these things out, and she will be like on fire, okay, like ready to like blow up the whole, oh, never mind, FBI's watching. Hello. Ready to go ham on the entire masjid, okay?
Ham.
I think I'll take ham before the blowing up this time, and I realize it doesn't have an effect on my iman because my faith is not in the hands of people. That's the biggest thing. Don't put your faith in the hands of people. Put your faith in Allah and you develop your relationship with Allah. And then the second thing is that you educate to your best ability. Don't educate with intentions of changing a person because you can't change somebody. You cannot change their mindset. You cannot change how they interact. You cannot change what they do. You can educate and you do that to the best of your ability. Don't drain yourself. I have a policy. Some people get annoyed, but I don't post Black Lives Matter stuff on my Instagram because there's a lot of other people posting it. I don't have to. It's my personal Instagram, and that's not how I feel like educating people, and nobody's going to dictate how I will educate someone. But if someone's treating someone else not in a nice way, I'm going to stand up for them. And that's what I choose to do. So you choose how you're going to do your part. That's within your capacity, and that's to the best of your ability, but you keep your faith in Allah and your relationship with Allah strong. And you recognize that the house of Allah, despite who's running it, is the house of Allah. It's not that person's home, it's Allah's home. And you come and you benefit from what you need to benefit from, and then you keep it pushing. And sometimes things are going to happen, and they're going to make you mad, and you're going to be upset, and you're going to be, I'm never coming here again. I'm never going to pray Tarawih here ever again. You're going to get up, and you're going to go back, and you're going to do it again. Because that's the house of Allah. And don't think Allah is not watching and this is not going unrewarded. It is. Because Prophet ﷺ says there's not a thorn that pricks a believer. That they have some type of pain. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not forgiving them. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not blessing them. That goes for emotional pain too. It goes for these feelings that we feel in the community as well. So that's what I wanted to share.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, I think, Atma, would you like to follow up or next question? Okay. So next question is how to help a friend turn their focus back to God and what would you say to them to make them focus less on the dunya? So this is almost like asking for a friend type of situation. I'm not accusing anyone. I'm just literally saying it's literally an ask your friend type of question. So how would you answer that? So when you want to help a person that you care about refocus back on deen and get a little bit further away from the dunya rather than focus on the dunya and get further away from the deen, how do you do that?
You can't force somebody to do
Honestly,
anything.
you don't. Don't. Don't
I mean,
try.
advise.
I don't know.
It depends on your relationship.
That I think that was the key right there. I think,
It depends.
Yeah.
If it's like somebody from down the street, you know, she want to do what she want to do.
But this is a friend. This is a friend. Keep in mind.
If it's a close friend, if it's a friend, just like a friend, and you say, okay, I'm going here. I'm like, okay, you can go. I'm not going because I don't feel comfortable. To me, that should tell you everything.
Also, we have to. I mean, I feel like that's a vague question. Focus less on the dunya. Like,
What is dunya?
I mean, what may be a sticking point for me may not be a sticking point for somebody else. So unless you really, truly, intimately know that this is something that this person does not need to worry about, mind your business. Right? Like we really have our own problems to worry about, and like we're big fans of advising the people around us. No, advise yourself first. Right? Advise yourself. Like I may have like a spending issue, right? But she may not. So why would I tell her to stop spending money when that's not even her problem?
It's definitely the opposite.
You said it, not me. All right. So do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's not your problem, right? So focus on getting your own life straight, right? And then I'm a big believer of the law of attraction. You guys any of you heard of that? What's the law of attraction? Yes, that was a real question. No?
Like marriage.
No, that is not. Are you familiar with that concept?
Like what you put out into the world is what you attract.
Absolutely. What you put out into the world, how you present yourself to the world, you are going to attract that. I mean, I don't think there's anything very special about the fact that I didn't deal with peer pressure growing up. It's because my parents and my family instilled in me confidence in my faith, so I didn't really care what other people tried to tell me about my religion, and so I didn't attract that type of negative energy towards me, right? So focus on yourself, focus on fixing what you need to fix for yourself, and then hopefully those friends are great friends for you, then they'll get the hint.
Yeah, and if you have like a good friendship with that person, you see your friend, like maybe you guys were on the same path and then they start, falling into a ditch or something, obviously warn them, be like, hey, like I'm just concerned about you. But you can't force nobody to do nothing. You're not gonna force anybody to be a better person. You're not gonna force anybody to stop the things that you say what you gotta say, you do what you gotta do, and you keep it pushing. Right? You focus on yourself, you do what you have to do, and then you tell them, like, if I was to come and advise her about something and she doesn't want to take my advice, I don't care. I did my part. Like, I mean, I'm a little bit more annoying. I'll probably say it again because that's me. But I actually, I just care about you. That's why I'm telling you this. It's up to you. It's your prerogative whether or not you're going to take it. And the same thing for her to me. Same thing for my friends to me, So we cannot put the changing of people into our hands. The only person you have control over is yourself.
Even the Prophet ﷺ could not change people. Well, who are we? Right? Throughout the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Prophet that his only job is to deliver the message. That's it. That's it. Don't take that responsibility on yourself. Only Allah changes hearts. Right? Only Allah changes people.
Pray for your friends.
So pray for them.
We need
Yeah.
the prayers out here. You can pray for me too.
And
almost close.
And so we'll actually, because for the sake of time, we'll end with this last question, y'all. And I think this actually ties into the last question. Somebody asked in follow up to that, how do you go about stepping away from your circle if you feel that they're holding you back from your own growth, or you being around them brings out a part of you that you don't want to have come out? So this is a great ending point, actually, because it's a part 2 and part 1 question that we just answered.
We both laughed because I know what she's gonna say, but so she's very straightforward. Okay, she would say cut him off. That's her.
I was actually gonna say just do it, but same thing.
cut them off, right? I'm different. I'm a little bit different. It depends on the relationship, right? If it's like a relation, if it's a friendship that is not that close or whatever the case may be, it's like you have those social friends you just hang out with, whatever. Yeah, I'll probably just disappear. I won't really say anything to you. But if it's like a really close friend and someone that I've spent time with and stuff, because I'm the type of person, it depends on the type of person you are too. Like, because I'm the type of person that it takes a long time for me to get fed up, or it takes a long time for me to recognize certain things. But once I've recognized it, it's like as real as the sun. Okay, it's as bright as day. There is no doubt about it. And I'll let you know. Like, I'm the type of person to be like, hey, I'm not gonna hang out with you anymore. Like, because this
X,
is how
Y,
I
and Z.
feel.
Yeah.
When I'm around you, I don't tell them like you're the worst person in the world and you make me feel like I'm going to hell. Like, no, I don't do that. I tell them that actually, like, I cannot hang out with you because of X, Y, and Z situation. I will always pray for you. I care for you. If you ever need anything, like du'as, let me know. I will not go out with you more. It's no hard feelings, at least on my end. I don't know how they feel. We don't talk anymore.
I also think, by the way, that's very, very okay to have different tiers of friendship.
Yeah, not everybody's your close friend. I think I have like, never mind. I'm always offended when I say that. Not everybody. My mom would tell me that not everybody's your best friend. You don't have to have 100 best friends, and that's fine. The people that are really close to you, those are the people you hold close. You take advice from, all that stuff. And there's acquaintances, and acquaintances you don't have to see them every day. You don't have to talk to them about everything. They don't need to know your business. You don't need to seek advice from them. They're people you see them on occasion or whatever. But if you realize your close friend is taking you down a path you don't want to go on, you're going to have that conversation. Because it's not fair to the other person that they're in that friendship that you don't say anything to it. At least that's my take.
Alrighty, so you're good?
She's just like.
Alrighty, so inshallah, I know we ran a little bit late, so we asked for your forgiveness for running a little bit late, but also this is kind of like we're just like overly excited to be here with everybody, honestly, in the response to last year. It's a true blessing when you look back at it. Like, imagine like if what happened last year happens again at any point. You're gonna look back at this and be like, dang, I wish I could stay till like 2:30. Like, it's all about perspective, y'all. So say alhamdulillah no matter what happens in your life. And so inshallah with that we're going to wrap up. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless everybody here. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless everyone's Ramadan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make every single minute that was given fasting for the sake of Allah to be rewarded. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept all forms of good deeds that we accomplished this month. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us for any of our mistakes and our shortcomings that we have committed. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep everyone's families and friends and loved ones safe and secure in health and in iman. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this Ramadan a Ramadan that when we meet our Creator, it's heavy on the scale of good deeds when we go back to Him. Ameen Rabbil Alameen. Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Jazakallah khairan, y'all. Appreciate you very much. Next week's finale, by the way, next week's Friday is going to be the last Friday of Ramadan night. And we have, inshallah,